Okay. Now, I happen to know I've been fortunate enough to see you shoot. And I know that when you come into the station or when you're on the range, when you are competing, that you have a level of concentration that you maintain. I mean, this is not really the time to start telling George Digweed the funniest joke you heard this week. You do have a level that you kind of like to maintain, correct?
Yeah, very much so. And but the one thing that I would say with it is that when I'm shooting, I am trying to remain very relaxed, have a laugh and joke with everybody on the squad until one out from me to shoot. And then the shutters come down and I wouldn't even know that anybody else is there. Once I've fired my last shot on the stand, the shutters come back up.
Yeah, well, we know we ran a clip a little earlier before we brought you on, and I had not noticed before that you like to blow down the barrel. So is that like a ritual with you?
I've got one or two rituals. You know, I mean, they're just things I do subconsciously.
Yeah.
Blowing down the barrel may be one of them. Without actually looking at what I do, you know, some of them I've got so honed that I wouldn't. It's muscle memory rather than I know I subconsciously have to do it.
Right. Okay, well, probably the other question that I'm asked the most is where the sport is going. You know, there's a lot of young people who are coming into the sport that we get emails from, and they say, James, you know, I would train just as hard learning basketball and making more money than I would if I went out, and as much as they love shooting, they're going, you know, there's not really much money here until you get up into the, you know, the top 5 guys. What's going on, George? How can we work with that?
It's always going to be difficult because media interest is limited. The amount that which you can cover clay pigeon shooting on television, and all of the sports that you're talking about that earn big money, golf, you know, basketball, football, those sort of sports, they're all related to how much television coverage they get through advertising, etc., etc. That's where the money comes in. Shooting is not easy to televise. You know, you can actually get the shooter and the clay in the shot, but when he pulls the trigger, because you can't actually see the pellets exiting the barrel and where they, you know, are level with the target, so to speak, you don't know how close the shooter was to hitting or missing the target. Obviously, when he hits it, you've seen he's hit it, but if he misses it by 6 inches, the actual person watching on a television can't see that. When you play golf and you hit a putt and it lips out, people can see how close they were to getting that putt. You know, when somebody kicks an American football at the post and it hits the post and bounces back, people can see how close he was to a hit or a miss. With shooting, you don't have that. So the element of the near miss and the competitive side of it tends to distance itself from it. Now, you know, I've watched shooting myself, and, you know, because of that, it tends to be dull. I think the people that are involved in the sport need to become more professional. I don't believe as a sport we're professional enough in our approach to everything we do, towards the media, dress code, etc., etc. I mean, I think if we was to take it up a gear towards the standards that golf clubs, you know, dress codes in golf clubs, etc., etc., I think that would be a big positive plus for the sport. And you're looking at, you know, getting people involved in the sport. Let's face it, it's an expensive sport to do. Especially your side of the pond, where if you're going to go to big events, you've got to travel. There's airline flights, there's hotels, there's car hire, etc., etc. So, you know, it's going to cost a lot of dollars to shoot. And I just think that if we raised our game as the shooters and as the people involved with it, we raised our game up a little bit and put a dress code in, and, you know, tried to become a little bit more professional with how we speak to you guys and how we promote the sport ourselves, then I think the whole level of how people look at the sport comes up, and then that's when you get some investment.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, George. I've been saying it for years. I've been saying it to the NSCA. I actually, one year I said, listen, whoever wins the Nationals, I'm gonna make them a blue jacket, and we'll put some patches on it, and we'll award it to them. As soon as I said that, they went, they'll never wear it. So you're right. I go out to these shoots like you do, George. I see guys in shower slides and flip-flops and T-shirts and shorts, and I go, how are you ever going to grow this sport unless you bring a little style and class and maturity to the sport? You know, and I think you're one of the guys who can actually help lead that, because I know that the English and many of the Europeans actually do dress well when they go to an event. I thoroughly agree with you on this. Unfortunately, I don't know that we're going to get a lot of cooperation on our side of the pond, as you say, but you know, maybe it's guys like you that need to lead the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's not just put all our eggs in one basket. It's not just about dress code, but you have to start somewhere. And you know, and I think that when you look at golf as such, even the people, this week it's the Masters, even the people that are watching the Masters will be dressed properly. You know, it's an unwritten law that you can't turn up and play golf in jeans and trainers, and I don't see why we should, you know, be in a situation where, you know, we're dealing with a shotgun, politically incorrect, both sides of the pond. You know, we just need to try and promote our sport in the best way possible. If we're going to get positive media, if we're going to get big multinational business involved, and it has to be a professional way we go about it. You know, there's certain other things that I would like to see. You know, in some of the bigger competitions, I think that perhaps the better shots should be seeded, and I think the better shots should be seeded and shoot together. That way, you know, perhaps the top 50 seeded shots shoot at the end of each day, or certainly the end of the last day, so that you're taking away the element of bad weather interference. You're taking away, you know, lots of pluses and negatives that could happen, and you're then opening it up for people that are involved in the sport and people that are in the periphery, i.e. business, multinational companies, to come and have a look and say, look, here are our top 50 shooters. They're all shooting at the same time. You can go around and have a look, and this is the professional side of the sport.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you again, George, because the NSCA used to do it that way, and they intentionally changed it now. So I don't know what the letdown is there, but there seems to be two ways of actually looking at how this should be done. And, you know, frankly, on the other side of the coin, I know I speak to a lot of shooters, and I think you do too. They're very happy with the sport the way it is, and they don't really want to do changes. So it's kind of an uphill battle on our side of the pond. I don't know how things are maturing on your side.
Well, I mean, we look at you as the growth side of sporting shooting. You know, I mean, there was never really much spoken about sporting shooting in the US until probably about 1988, 89, 90. And then from then on, it's been massive growth. And, you know, you've got guys now, and it's taken quite a long time, but you've got guys now that are able to compete at an international world level continuously. And, you know, it would be great for you to come on board and us all to get on board together and take the sport forward. But I think that, you know, for me, in the sport in the UK at the moment seems to be dying a bit of a death. Now, we could look at the recession and we could look at, you know, certain factors. Weather at the moment is not great over here, so, you know, people still aren't able to get out on a nice balmy spring day and shoot and enjoy it. You know, you're still having to wear winter clothing, which is not great for gun mounting, etc., etc. Right. But I still don't feel that going forward we're getting the right what's the word I'm looking for? We're getting the right. We're promoting it in the proper way. I mentioned on another interview that I did a couple of weeks ago that, and this is a factual thing. In 1989, I won the British Open Sporting Championship, and I think I won £2,500, a couple of guns, Magnum of champagne, etc., 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 and all the add-ons. And it was a fantastic achievement. There was probably 1,400 entries, and it was probably the most prestigious trophy to win at the time. And then last year I looked at it. The event used to run between Tuesday and Sunday. They hadn't got enough entries last year to run the Thursday, so they only ran it Friday, Saturday and Sunday. And I think the winner picked up £625. So what does that say about our sport? That in 1989 you could win £2,500, and this last year there was nothing else other than £625. When you add in inflation and the way everything's moved forward, I mean, it's derisory.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me ask you this, because you probably do more traveling than I do in the sport. Are you seeing any growth in Africa, Italy? Is it growing at all there?
Yeah, for me, the big growth countries at the moment, sporting-wise, would be Italy. There's a massive changeover now between, there's 1 million people shoot clay targets in Italy, but a lot of people don't realise that. But it's always been trap and skeet, and now those people have, come to find sporting. They're looking at sporting as an exciting new way of shooting, and they're coming to shoot sporting in big numbers. That's a massive growth area. I was over there last weekend doing some coaching, and that went really well. And there was a very positive feedback from all of the Italians. And then the next big country that's going to come on board, and it's I sort of look at it as exactly how you started to come on board, is Russia. It's a massive population there, and there's some big wealthy people there now, and people that can afford to shoot and have nice facilities. We've been very lucky with Vladimir Lisin, investing large amounts of money within shooting, not only here, but he organised a classic in Georgia a couple of years ago and invested quite a large amount of money in that. So, as long as those people continue to help the sport, it'll grow very much in Italy and Russia, which I see as leading two growth countries. And then, you look at France and places like that, they're still keeping up the numbers. And in, the Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, those sort of people are getting more and more and more all the time, but they haven't got the population network to do, massive amounts of, new people coming into shooting. And then it was very interesting to see that in the first big shoot of the year that we went to, which was the Pan-African Championship in South Africa, that Denmark sent a team for their compact sporting, Italy had a team for compact sporting, and the national teams are coming over to those events now early for, pre-season practice, warm weather practice, and, they're treating it quite seriously, which is good.